Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Sewer Commission. This is our regular scheduled meeting for the month of October. We begin with a roll call, starting with our select board.
Jim Craig, Select Board Representative.
Daniel Taylor, Sewer Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
David Pierce, Commissioner.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Keith Canton, Assistant Sewer Foreman.
Corey White, Sewer Superintendent.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Public comment is the first order on the agenda. Is anyone here to speak in the public comment arena? Seeing none, there is no public comment. Minutes of September the 10th.
Motion to approve the minutes has been drafted for September 10th.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
You're abstaining, right?
Yes, because I was not at that meeting. Okay. So we're back to old business, and the first item on the agenda is the St. Anselm College discussion of sewer rates, and we welcome you folks up to the table, and please give us your names for the record.
Bill Furlong, St. Anselm College, CFO.
And I'm Emily Gehring from Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell, subbing in for Ari Pollock this evening.
Did you get Emily's last
Yeah, I
name?
was going to say, can you spell your name for me?
Certainly, it's Goering.
And it's Emily, E-M-I-L-Y?
Yep, exactly.
Thank you.
Welcome both of you.
Thank you.
So, Dave, you've been pretty, can you tell us about our
I
last meeting
believe,
where we were?
Bill, we last left the discussion as to we had a proposed ultimate very high sewer rate, and I was arguing for a 17% reduction on that, and you wanted 40 or 42, 45, I forget what the number was, potential reduction off that higher limit. And there's where we left it.
Yeah, and I think we left it at well, we pretty much settled that was at 300, and I think I just had to go back and talk to people at the school.
You're refreshing my memory now.
So we're now
The
at
chair-
300.
The chair made a suggestion about 300
And
treatment
I'm
units.
hoping to make this quick. I think we're ready to agree to a 300 TU agreement on that. So hopefully this will be quick and we can kind of get this settled and
So,
move forward.
Commissioners in concurrence, David,
Yes, I would concur with that rate.
Daniel?
Yep, for the next 4 years, I believe.
What did we agree to?
Well, there was,
We talked about a time frame,
It'll be
right?
revisited every 4 years.
Every 4 years?
Yeah.
we had a one-page tentative agreement,
Yeah,
how
I think
that could be
yeah.
structured.
I think we should take a look at that and we can kind of look at exactly what that formal piece looks like. We'll have Ari
I
and
think
then
the
Emily
important
took
thing
like
for
that
us is it sets up a,
recurrence.
unlike the previous one that had no look back at all till, lo and behold, it long expired. I wish this agreement to have some, to cause us to come back together every 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's a good time period. It'll allows us to kind of see where we are with the school, if its population is increasing, decreasing, staying the same. So I think that's the 4 years makes some sense. So, like you said, the last one was written, I think it was a 20-year deal, and it went on, and even after 20 years, we kind of just let it stayed the same forever. So I think 4 year makes some sense, and I think we can kind of work through the language of that piece. I think, but I think the biggest thing that we're talking about was the number of TUs. So I
Yes.
think so.
Now, the next billing cycle is November, correct?
Right.
So we are going to prepare to have the 300 treatment units be your number for the November billing cycle. And if we sign the paperwork after the fact because it gets lost in the,
That's fine.
is there a problem with you folks?
No, that's fine. Yep.
Also, you concur to the fact that we have set some rate increases in effect, that you will be increased the same as everyone else is?
Yeah, yeah, I understand, it
Beginning-
went from 400 to 450 per treatment unit.
Right.
Again, that was never what we were talking, we were arguing about, it was mostly about the number of treatment units, so that piece is, just like everyone else is being charged that rate. I'm not sure if we know, and information maybe will come up forth, if you've set out what your increases will be for the next few years, or is it a year-by-year basis, I don't know, but.
We potentially would have a discussion on that in November, setting the rate for the next year.
Okay.
I know a year ago, we tentatively said, well, maybe a 2% increase, but that was just a suggestion.
Okay,
Out
I
the
just,
blue.
again, I don't know when you set your rates and how they
But we
run,
We
again.
potentially would set a rate in November.
Okay,
You also have an application before the Bedford Planning Board for the sports
We do,
complex. That has not been included. There will be an increase for that when any treatment units are determined to go with that facility, because that, you have not been granted permission to tie into our system with that at this time. I think we cannot stop you from tying into our system, and we probably will allow it, but there will be an increase in your flow after that comes online, so.
okay, how are you gonna calculate that? So
We're gonna
we agreed to 30, right? And I agreed that that's a place that we did it. We've always been based on the number of population in the school. So this is a little bit, you're hitting me with something that now we're
No.
gonna change it, we're gonna change
We
what
did talk
we
about
agreed about it.
this
So,
because you.
but it was part of our conversation about the 300, correct?
You're refreshing my memory, because I don't actually remember if we talked about it as part of the 300. David, do you remember that?
No, I don't recall
Daniel, do you
encompassing
I don't-
your new sports complex with
Yeah.
the existing bill.
So we're changing the deal.
Well, I
Can
thought it was agreed that since you are going to have outside functions in there and different uses, we need to decide this tonight.
Can I interject on that point? I went back through all the meeting minutes today, and I know that there was discussion at at least one of the prior meetings, about the fact that whoever is using the athletic facility, they're predominantly students from the campus, so whatever flow they would have been generating from their dorm rooms is just being generated elsewhere on campus, so it'd still tie into the 300, and that visiting teams and those sort of things is such a de minimis flow increase that was all encapsulated within the 300 TU.
But there was also the possible discussion that was going to be rented out to outside entities to use independent of and that was stated at a planning board meeting, if I'm not mistaken. So there was going to be outside groups that were going to be able to rent your facility. So since it's not decided at a planning board, either Goffstown or Bedford at this time, I think we should decide tonight whether we're going to look at that in the future and discuss it at the 4-year mark, as opposed to wadding it up right now, because it's taken a long time to get to where we are. And I don't think it's worth the trouble right now to break down our deal over that, myself personally.
I'm just going to read the minutes that I think she's referring to. It says, Tim Redmond asked about the proposed field houses to be built on campus. Mr. Furlong stated there will be a small increase in usage. Most students using the field house would already be using water in the residence halls, if not the field house. There may be a slight increase when visiting teams are on campus. This will not be significant.
Okay. David, what's your take? Do you want to revisit this one after an application has been approved at a 4-year time?
I would feel comfortable with that. Let the existing agreement be ratified as we've discussed, and we'll just make a note to ourselves when the agreement is up for
To review
relook.
the use.
By that time, you'll have lots of history on this complex and
We
its
hope so.
use.
Hopefully we'll get some movement on that. We're actually going back
And
to
if
the
it's,
Bedford
like
zoning
you said,
board.
if the student is not in the dorm using water or
Mhm.
toilet, then maybe they're visiting the sports complex. It's a wash.
Yeah.
Daniel?
I'm amenable to that.
Okay, so we will verbally agree tonight that we will include the proposed field house in the 300 treatment units for the next 4-year cycle.
Okay.
But we reserve the right to review data for the field house and make a decision with you regarding any possible increases if that shows a large increase in your sewer output.
Perfect.
Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Yeah, the saving grace is the meter that measures flow out of your complex is kind of iffy. It doesn't, I don't think it gets down to the granularity that we're talking about on your complex, so, but we'll see how it turns out after 4 years.
Well, I think it needs to be clearly stated for the record that we are not agreeing to your meter
Yep.
data for an agreement with you folks.
Yep.
Because we do not use meter data from anyone else. It was part of our discussion, however, based on your statements that your campus is closed for a specific portion of the season, the annual use, that therefore we are adjusting your treatment units based on
Yep.
the information that you are not using your system for long periods of time during the course of the calendar year.
That's,
And we are still sticking to our treatment unit formula for calculating your wastewater usage.
Yep, for this agreement,
Is
yep.
that okay with you?
Yep, for this agreement, yep.
All right. So, I would like to, do we have any discussion from either of our sewer employees or our esteemed select representative?
Nope.
Okay, so, Daniel, would you like to make a motion to the effect that we agree to the 300 treatment units for the next 4 years, or something that you think is appropriate?
Yep, making a motion that
Those are the ones that gave me.
the negotiation
Brought it.
between St. Anselm's College and the Goffstown Sewer Commission has come to the conclusion that you guys will, that St. Anselm will, and the Sewer Commission will agree to a treatment unit of 300 annually for the next 4 years, starting with this November's billing cycle. Yeah, and this is based on the fact that the college has significant periods during the year of reduced usage and will be receiving a discount on the, receiving an adjustment on the sewer table that we use to calculate all customers of our sewer system.
yeah, one discussion point on that. Well, I'll second that.
Yep.
Okay, but.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have a discussion on the motion. Our draft agreement, as it up to date, is that the college would, at some interval, 4 years, would provide information on 3 categories of students and employees. And then we would consider reducing whatever that treatment unit is by a certain penance, in this case, whatever the percentage is to get down to 300. But that would be, that's a process that we use for every other customer in our department. And then, as the chairman stated, we're applying an understanding that you're not actively at that load of students and employees for substantial periods of time. Therefore, it's our public, based on that public information, we're reducing it by a certain percentage to come down to 300. So, in order to have an understanding of where we are 4 years from now, we would have to implement that. You would have to provide us the student information load and then we would make the appropriate reduction down to 300. So-
Well, the appropriate reduction down to what a new amount is, because if flow goes down and the number of students goes down, I wouldn't
No,
expect it
this-
to be
this is
equal
not
to
on
300,
flow.
right?
The,
So,
Are you talking about something we're gonna do in 4 years from now, Dave? Is that what?
Yeah, I'm trying to lay the framework of how this commission, we might not be here, but how the commission would re-examine this
Well, I
agreement
think, I
4
think it
years
should
from
be
now.
I think it should be described in the document that they're going to agree to.
Mhm.
Let them review the document, you can spell out your statements in the document, and then they can review it and sign it and return it to us,
yes,
hopefully.
yep. Yeah, and then I assume we'll work through Lynn, we'll,
Yeah.
We'll
Lynn and
come-
Corey will be your contact
yeah,
points.
we will go through we'll
You don't
we'll
need
look
to-
at that document, we'll send it over, you'll review it, you'll have red lines, we'll have red lines,
Okay.
and then we'll come to an agreement, we'll have a signed agreement, and that's where we're at, and what that's going to do is going to provide us an agreement for the next 4
4
years.
years.
And 4
And a
years from
date.
now, we will probably try to start the conversation, not on the day of when it changes,
No, I
but
think
sometime
6 months
before
in
that,
advance.
right? So we can have some
The
conversation
agreement-
about where it's gonna go, because, we all have to plan, just like you guys have to plan on your budget, we have to plan on our budget as well, right? So I have no problem with that. I think right now, what you're trying to do is we can explain in the document, and we can kind of get some
Yeah.
sign off on the
So
document.
Lynn will provide you a copy of this one-page agreement, and it
Well, we're gonna-
indicates that you have the first step of providing some load of students
Mhm.
and employees.
Yep.
And then we've already agreed that the last paragraph says, in our positions, we're going to reduce that, whatever that load calculates to be, we're going to reduce it by a certain percentage to come down to 300.
Yep.
So, and then
That'd be
the matter is put to bed, and then 4 years from now, you would submit the same information, and we would reconsider where we want to,
Yeah,
what
I think we'll have discussions in 4 years.
Yes. And I think it goes to say, Bill, honestly speaking, that unless St. A's changes your population, student and faculty population dramatically, or noticeably, then you would expect to see an increase in your bill. If St. A's downsizes for some reason and reduces, it works in both
Yeah,
directions.
correct.
So-
And that's what I'm asking for.
And
'cause
I don't- and I-
We're heading towards a time in higher education in which the demographic, what they call a demographic cliff in higher education, the number of graduates coming out of high school is actually going down, right? So competition is going to get worse. I don't know what's going to happen to it. Like, I wish I could
Right.
tell you, because if I could, I'd probably be in a different place. But we don't know what's going to happen. So in 4 years, I think it's a very good time for us to kind of say, okay, the population is very similar to what it is now. It's grown a little bit, it's gone down a little bit, and then we can
Let's
kind of have
make an
conversations
adjustment.
that say, okay, it went down a little bit, let's make an adjustment down a little bit, it went up a little bit, let's make an adjustment up a little bit. But I think we have
just
the
wanna-
basis of the conversation now is at the 300, and we kind of have a conversation about, okay, we talked about this, I don't want to, hopefully it can be much easier than this, because, this is something that took 20 or 30 years for us to kind of review. Hopefully, in 4 years, it'll be just small adjustments, that everyone kind of knows, okay, this is what's going to be, what you guys can expect on a budget piece, and what we can expect for the budget
I would
piece.
love to say that you'll have the agreement in the month of November, but I think as commissioners, we still have to review the substance of the agreement,
Mhm.
and we have to make sure we all agree on the content
Yep.
and the context, and anything that Dave has
Yep.
just discussed and
Yep.
added tonight.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we all concur, and that whatever we give you, we agree on in completeness, so
Yep.
that when you look at it, we're not going to be trading it back and forth.
Yep, yep,
Okay?
yep.
using the current,
We have a motion on the
Yeah.
table, so let's handle the motion and move on. So we have a motion to agree to 300 treatment units with St. A's for the next 4 years, basically, with the right to review at the end of 4 years.
Yep.
Is that clear enough, Bill?
That is clear.
I like that motion.
can I amend the motion?
Go ahead.
The 300 treatment units is a reduction of approximately 33.3%.
I don't think that's
No.
necessary.
Okay.
We don't need to add that in there.
Okay.
I would not second that.
It's just
I think we just,
based on our preliminary agreement, it's specified
We have accepted the college's statements as to their lack of attendance during certain times of the year, and we've made a decision to reduce the treatment units based on that
Okay.
information. Okay, the motion is on the table without an amendment to be voted on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, Bill, thank you,
Thank you.
Emily.
Emily.
I remembered. I didn't have to look,
Thank you so much.
Take care, thank you.
looking at the wrong paper anyway.
Have a good night.
You too, guys.
Thank you, folks. Give Ari our best, please. Give Ari Pollock our best.
I certainly will, yeah, he sent his regards, unfortunately, he was double booked tonight, just couldn't slide things around.
You can tell him that you made the difference in the
I really
negotiation.
took
Yeah,
the
you-
scales in our favor, don't
You
tell him
helped.
otherwise.
You hard lined us and you got it done. All right. Corey Wyke wants to talk about sewer replacement projects. Corey, the floor is yours.
So, we've been discussing where we're going next year. So, in talks with Eric and Scott over at Public Works, trying to get on some sort of the same page, so we're not stuck redoing entire roads ourselves. The best answer I could get in a 99% agreement that they're gonna take care of Laurier Street, Ivy and Wall is their Bernardville, that's where they wanna go
Next year,
next year.
okay? You're going to give us a report on the condition of those lines?
So, what I'm proposing is that we hop on the train and camera those three roads. So we know, I know of a point repair on Laurel Street, correct? It looks like there's a manhole that's actually settled over there. But that is not lined, it's original clay. And if I had to guess, there's probably gonna be more defects in it.
So we a year behind already based on what you want to do? We should have been doing those streets this year, if they're going to be there next year.
Camera work,
No, for any repairs or replacement projects.
yes, we were in talks about trying to, following whether they were going there or not.
Okay, I'm listening.
So, it was, that got the axe.
What
That
got the
pro-
axe?
Laurel Street got the axe
Okay.
on the Public Works end.
For 25?
No, for 24.
24.
That was on their road list.
So that's bumped to 25.
So it's bumped to 25,
Ivy Street?
Ivy and Wall. So
They're
it's
both bumped to 25.
everything that holds, that's the last section of, we call it the Heights. It's the end of the Heights that connects to St. A's Drive.
Right.
So those three are the last three that need to get done.
And Laurel has a point repair that needs to be done, and you think it should be lined?
I think it should be cameraed and determined whether to line that pipe or to replace it.
Okay.
Because the last time that was cambered was 1990.
Okay, well then, should the pipe need to be replaced, we're in a bad position then, because they want, unless we have a contractor in there in April, and they come in and do their work later in the summer.
Which most likely they'll start, generally it's usually around May after they finish whatever projects they start during the winter.
But we're not gonna have a sewer line replacement done right now.
Would Laurier Road be of the same nature as this last summer? You know, once you make a trench, you're essentially destroying the whole road?
No, that side of the road is actually clay. So you can keep a much tighter trench and it's not as deep. But it might not need to, the whole thing might not be replaced. It might be fine to do a point repair on that manhole, change that manhole out and fix whatever has settled. And then they can do their thing and we can line it after.
Do you need budgetary permission to camera, or is that within your purview of your budget?
For this, I think it would be in my purview.
Then I think you should use your authority as a sewer superintendent and have it cameraed and report back to us as soon as you can.
And along with in discussions with Eric and Scott, trying to figure out going forward in the future about their road. It's hard to tell where they're going. That's like one of the issues.
It never
because
used to be.
It is now.
They have a very flexible road plan as the year approaches.
Well, they dealt with the default budget this year too.
Okay, so I
So
think they're
But
I think that's what they're,
yeah, and Elm Street was never on their road plan. That was never supposed to be, that wasn't on the scope of work for
did that happen
2024.
because the water department wanted to replace their line?
I'm not sure. I just know that Public Works said they were going out there. And then,
It's a coincidence.
Do we
I
know
guess
if
it
they
could help.
cost shared on the asphalt?
with the water department,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think we need to worry about that.
Well, it's
It's a
just,
past project, it's not a, not
well,
later involved.
it's a precedent that I would like to establish if they're going to go out and do like they did with Elm Street, which wasn't on their list, and Albert was on the list, selectmen's rep. Albert was on the list, and he got dumped because he had a default budget. But yet we went over and did Elm Street, which wasn't on the list. So that's a talking point for me. And that's all I'm gonna say about it. All right, so what's next, Corey? Those 3 roads. What's on Ivy that you're concerned about? Anything?
Ivy and Wall are both asbestos cement. And
It's good pipe until it breaks.
it's good pipe until it breaks. And we don't have any camera footage of that. It was actually,
I wouldn't be opposed to you cameraing all 3 roads, just for our own, so if something goes wrong while they're rebuilding those roads, we have a record of what it was like when they started digging over there.
yes,
I think that's good insurance for us.
absolutely.
Now, we are not gonna be able to use our entire CIP budget for those 3 projects.
I
So
would,
what-
I would hope not.
What are we going to do with our CIP budget, Corey?
We have options. Pick a side street in the flats, ones you and I have.
Off of
looked at,
Higgins?
Off of Higgins, and maybe the one that doesn't have any drainage on it. And it's a short section, I think it's only like 300 feet. And
That could be a trench patch then.
That could be a trench patch, and if I remember correctly, those side streets aren't deep. It's only, Higgins is deep, the side streets are not.
Well, then, if you could confirm the depth by pulling some covers and let us know. They still are gonna have to go to the manhole in the street to tie in, and that
Yeah.
could be deep, but that's only one spot.
Correct.
But I would like to make every effort as a commission to avoid opening a street that we end up paying for all the asphalt on in the future. And if it means waiting and cleaning those lines every year instead of every 3 years, then we just wait.
Well, we clean those lines twice a year now, as it is, just because we know there's problems. And to avoid backups, we clean that neighborhood twice a year.
How many more streets in the neighborhood are a problem right now? A lot of them?
There's 5.
And are they all, then they're all flat, right?
Everything's flat, everything's old clay, and nothing is pitched properly. Rochambeau is probably one of the worst. Higgins, the manholes are very deteriorated.
Higgins is a collector road from what I can see. It
It
collects
is.
3 side roads and feeds it out to the main line.
Yep, out to Cross.
So that's a pretty important one.
Yep, and Cross Street itself, when we pulled the manhole out, replaced the manhole in Cross Street at Albert Street, we looked down the line with a flashlight, and it goes like this.
So now, is Cross Street on the DPW's radar? Remember they told us they wanted to go to Cross Street?
They would like to go to Cross Street because that's where they would want to start with their drainage, because that's where their trunk line would want to go.
Well, can you have conversations with them regarding maybe starting at Cross Street in a dual fashion and getting Cross Street done? Because that is that's where the roads feed to. You always want to do your downstream work first.
And a short discussion that Scott Ozana and I had while we're actually standing out there we both concurred that that would be the starting point to work together. Because.
It would be. Because from there it comes into the flats.
And there's established drainage on there that needs to be upgraded to start anyways.
Yeah, because you always have to have your outlet done. Could you look at the pipe sizes on Cross Street and if it's possible to up those pipe sizes? Because then we can consider that an upgrade and we can use some of our other funding if necessary.
Yeah, I think
As
now.
long as downstream will accept a larger pipe on Cross Street.
Correct. I think it's either a 12 or a 15 inch in there.
And then where does it go from there? Down
So it goes,
towards the ravine,
yep, it goes down
past Ernie's garage?
past Ernie's, past the old landfill, to Roosevelt would be the next intersection.
Yeah,
And then it actually turns and goes down Roosevelt towards Manchester. And it actually turns down, I think it's Davion, it's a little dead end. And it goes down through the woods to the rail trail. Basically towards the rail trail. into
which
the-
is where the interceptor is.
Yes, and it ties into the Manchester metering pit.
So if you could just start looking at pipe sizes from the rail trail, interceptor line backwards up, see what you can confirm as upgrades are available.
Yes.
Do you have any slip lining projects in towns that for not needing to be replaced pipe, but just standard slip lining? Has that all been completed under the prior group of guys that were doing it?
There's, I don't know. There's not a set plan in, if you looked at Yogi's master plan, he had the flats as the replacement projects, and that was the next major. And then he was looking back to cammering and slip lining again
At other streets?
on other streets, mainly on the dead ends off of Mast Road.
Well, what I'd like you to review, Corey, is a way to, I'm not saying get rid of our CIP numbers, but something that we can plug in terms of, even if it's multiple projects, that would equate what we were budgeting for Higgins or whatever was going to happen. Find a way to keep our CIP money fluid and make progress on other types of repairs that are long-term fixes. Slip lining is long-term fixes,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay?
And what come with slip lining though is the camera work. It all is camera work to start off with.
Well, then,
That can very easily keep that money fluid, where we have to camera all that stuff before we can even assess whether it can be slip lined, or it turns into point repairs and replacement projects.
and we have Belmore to camera for us?
Belmore, for that amount of camera work, it would end up having to go out
To
to
bid.
bid.
Would it be economical to invest in a camera that can
No.
do
You're
everything?
talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We tried to get
set
a
up.
camera during Mike Walton's tenure, just to be able to go out and peek every once in a while to look for a problem. And we ended up renting Ernie's camera all the time, even back then. And Mike never spent the money when we asked him to get a camera, but that's okay. It's the way it is.
And
You need to figure out a schedule for cameraing and get a budgetary item going for camera work. And maybe we should include a line in our budget the following year, not this year necessarily, for a camera line. And that could be a standalone line for all the things that we do with the camera. And we can separate it out from the general use lines, like equipment rental or whatever those lines are.
yeah, I reached out to Belmore just to have them start.
Does he have his camera on state bid?
That is a good question.
If
I
his
think
camera is on-
everything covered, I
If his
think,
camera is on his state bid list along with his pump back trucks, then we don't have to get 3 bids. We can use him as a sole vendor because he is a state bid vendor. Then if someone doesn't like that, then if they want to submit a lower bid than state bid to get the work, that's up to them to do it. But state bid is still our
yeah,
threshold.
Yep.
Anything else, Corey?
That's kind of the ideas I have. And I'm gonna continue talking with DPW and see if Cross Street is
Viable.
viable. Are they even thinking about it?
Because that came up in discussion when we talked about Albert Street. They wanted to do Cross Street first.
That area is just patchwork over patchwork over patchwork, and it's a whole mess down there.
It is a
So
mess.
it just makes sense if we can.
It was built in the 40s and
Yeah.
50s, and not all the houses were in there then, and not everybody put as much liquid down as they did in the 40s and 50s. The discharge is much higher now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, Lynn, I want to ask Corey another question before we move on. Lynn, to you, just, Corey, I asked you to look into a real estate ad for the house across from the Cumberland Farms that's being advertised as two-family. And can you report on what you found out about that?
It is, I found the MMLS on it and double checked. It is, it almost looks like it's, like the word is, it's 2 units, A and B.
Yeah, but it wasn't 2 units A and B before.
And it doesn't look like it.
Well, so we,
Is
before,
this a structure that's been under renovation for the last 6
the
months?
one across the street from the Cumberland Farms, just south of Cumberland Farms.
In our database for like GIS where you can look up the owner, sales, the whole 9 yards, it has it listed as a single family.
Right.
So.
So, and the advertisement for that home is a multifamily.
Multifamily. So I
Now,
have
did you,
everybody's information.
did you ask the building inspector if he issued a permit for that to allow that?
I did not.
Well, I would like you to do that this week.
What was the address of that?
I don't have the address.
I think it's either 11 South Mast.
You'll find it. Next time you drive by, Lynn, look at the number on the house.
Okay.
It's the one they just renovated. It's a beautiful looking job. But they have to pay an accessibility fee to, and did they do a second sewer connection?
No. I had nothing, until
Well,
you
then-
mentioned that ad.
There is a lot of balls in the air with this project that need to be reconciled. Because they don't have permission to put 2 units on one line, do they?
Not unless it's 6-inch.
Did they go to planning? They didn't go to planning,
No.
they don't have to.
See, they can do stuff like that directly through the
Yeah.
building department
Yeah.
because it's a renovation. But the building department, and you could hopefully impress upon the inspector that anything that goes from 1 family to 2 family needs to go through the sewer department.
Yes.
And I'm sure he knows that.
We do, I usually double check with her, that's why I gotta,
Well, you can check on it too.
Yeah, I will look
You
at it.
Get it from both ends here. Corey and you can work together on the address and then you can do some digging.
yeah, I'll check on it tomorrow.
All right, thank you for that. So Lynn, you have 9 Prospect Street here?
Yes.
What is it?
I brought this up to the last meeting. They came to me and asked if we could void their bill because they have not had any water, and I
Which we
did get, yes.
We voided the most recent bill.
Yep, I got, the water department says they have not had water since June of 2022. I was under the impression they were just asking for the one bill, but when I ran their account, they have not paid that whole time that they have been without water. So currently, we have a motion for them, for me to...
So when people don't pay their bill, does that go onto your sheet and come up in red?
Yes, and they pay interest and all that on it. And I don't really pay attention so much to that until they get leaned and all that, but, so they have not paid, and I was going to void this last bill,
So how many years have they not paid?
just since June of 2022, so it's 5 bills, 4 bills. 4 bills.
So when bills come back as not paid, what's your action?
I don't do anything until, what happens is, in February, if they have not paid the prior year, they will get letters in the mail, and a lien is placed on the property.
Has
So
that
they have
happened?
they have liens on this property
Okay.
until either we void them or they pay them, either or.
Well, you know, if they just came in and asked for a reduction because they had their water turned off, we supposed to just throw our hands up in the air and say, okay, or some people bear some responsibility to follow rules? Mm.
I don't know, they talked to Corey too. I know they gave me a letter recently from the water department that said they have been without water since June of
Is
2022.
the property occupied, Cory?
No, it's
it hasn't
demo.
been- It's been vacant for years.
Okay. All right, well then, I suppose we just vacate the bills, but I just want to know, I wanted to know the process, Lynn, when someone doesn't pay their bill, and how you handle it.
Yeah, so they have been liened. And if
Okay.
they were to go another year, they would get deeded and we
Okay.
were looking to take them if
Okay.
they didn't.
Anybody have any questions for Lynn on Prospect Street?
So I need a motion. The original motion last time was to void the sewer bill for the period of January 24 through June 2024. And the billing will not resume until the water is turned back on. So I guess I want a motion now
To go retro back and
to void the bill from June, no, from the December 1 of 2022 to current.
No, we already made a motion to void this year's bill. You got to make a
Okay,
motion to
to
void the bill
2023.
prior to that motion.
Okay, so to void the bill from the,
22,
the December
22
of 2022
to when?
through December of
23?
2023.
And then the bill then from there to forward was already motioned and
Correct.
done at a prior meeting.
Correct.
Make a motion to void the bill from December 2022 to December 2023 for the property at 9 Prospect Street, based on the confirmation from the Goffstown Water District that they had their water service turned off in June 2022.
So, yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to void the 22 to 23 bill for the sewer at 9 Prospect Street. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, before we go on to the budget, I have a couple things that came up just before the meeting. One of them is I gave you a memo that Danielle wrote up. She is suggesting that we move some of our funds. She reviewed the cash balance needed for operating activities and the enterprise fund. She feels it's safe to transfer as much as $737,000 to the reserve fund while still meeting long-term solvency goals. And she is recommending that we transfer. She just did a flat fee of $725,000, and she wrote the motion if that's what you agree on.
So where is the $725,000 right now resting that she wants to move?
It's probably just in our
Operating.
regular operating account.
They call the sewer enterprise fund, is that our checkbook?
Yes.
Well, isn't the money that we collect from the ratepayers being used budgetarily and it has an expected use during the course of the year?
But we have, when you get, like, we will, I
I'd like
believe
to know
our
the- I'd like to know the
accessibility
source
fee.
of the $725,000.
I can see if she can come down here real quick. If she's here.
Because that makes it look like we're collecting more than we're spending, and that doesn't look right to me. Excess cash collected from sewer user fees. What is sewer
And
user?
accessibility fees too, I believe.
Is that the money that has come in from like the project over here, from the?
Yeah, the accessibility
You don't
fees
need
that
to
are
bring her
coming in
down.
from
Don't
that,
bring her
okay.
down. Don't bring her down.
Okay.
So she calls it sewer user fees, it's more like accessibility fees.
Yeah, I think it's all the money that we have in there, the accessibility
Is
fee
that the
and
only one
linear
that's come
fees.
online and paid all theirs, was that project? Because Bog Road's still not up and
Yeah,
going
they're not
yet.
up.
How about the ones for the Villa Augustina project? Those are all.
Those are all
all
paid, that was
Yeah,
last, that was
But
last year.
got sent into this enterprise fund.
Yeah, that's in there
So
from
there's
last
two
year,
projects
yeah.
that are in the enterprise fund, that are excess, that are for our long-term goals.
No, I think everything for Glen Place should have been transferred last year. Because that
I was gonna ask,
project
did
was
we do a
completed.
transfer
Yeah.
I
last
don't
year?
remember transferring
I
that.
don't think we
pretty sure.
transferred last year.
I don't remember it.
I
No,
don't,
no,
No,
I don't remember doing a transfer
You
last
did
year.
or did not?
we did not.
Yes, I didn't think so. All right, so I'll make a motion based on the finance director, no, she's not the finance director, the assistant town administrator's recommendation that we transfer $725,000 in accessibility fees that we have
She's got the
collected.
motion written down right here.
It's not sewer user fees, it's not the right wording.
Okay.
So the motion to deposit $725,000 in excess funds collected from the accessibility fees for several projects in town into the sewer reserve fund held by the trustees of the trust fund.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
The other thing that, because Mike wasn't able to make it, he wanted me to have you sign, he says.
Certificate of substantial
The
completion?
certificate of substantial completion for East Union and Riverview Park Pump Station. He says he reviewed it and everything looks
For
fine,
it?
it's just a small.
Yes, there's only the change order 3 left to do, and they're doing that tomorrow.
And for the Riverview Park or for East Union?
East Union, they're changing the valve,
And what's the status of Riverview Park?
100% complete.
Looks
Any
good.
questions for Corey from Dave or Daniel?
So, motion to
Authorize the chair.
authorize the chair to sign certificate of substantial completion relative to the East Union Riverview Pump Station project based on the recommendation of our consultant. And this excludes the work that is yet to be done on change order 3.
Okay. Any discussion? Oh. you need a
I'll second the motion.
Second by Daniel. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. You got one for me to
Yeah,
sign?
we can sign that one. Oh, see. Oh.
By signing the certificate of substantial completion, is there a dollar amount tied to this, Lynn?
This is all, that's all he gave me.
It would be part of the contract definition.
Okay, thank you. Today is what?
The 8th, October 8th. Thank you.
Okay, what's this very lively
All
looking?
right, yeah, this is the
oval?
last one. I got a phone call from
What is it?
this woman, Ellen Sopranos, project manager. It's a program that's put on by the state where they will go ahead and do upgrades to your equipment and your system to make it safer for cybersecurity. It is no cost to you. He said if you have any questions, you can talk to Lee Minnick. The water department took advantage of this and had work done. So they will go ahead, they will look at everything, they will figure out if there are things that need to be done, and if it does need to be done, they will go ahead and do the corrections, and...
Ah, yeah, they'll do the
They
correct.
said there's no charge, no cost to you, but...
No charge for the examination, but.
No,
charges
for the work.
correction.
Nope, the work is all
It's a
free
grant.
too. It's a
All
grant.
grant money?
Yep.
I would make a motion to authorize Corey to look into this with the water department and report back to the commissioners.
We actually had an assessment done last year by the feds, came in to look at wastewater and the potable water for Lee. So I know a little bit about this. I'll jump into it and do more research and see what they did for Lee. Lee's online where we are not, so we can find out information and see what they actually can do for us with our existing equipment.
So Lee's equipment actually can control their system, ours only monitors it.
Yes, somebody could hack his system and like turn the water off or overfill his tanks or something like that. He's automated.
I made a motion to authorize Corey to look into this.
Second the motion?
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
I'm
Okay,
just
now
gonna
we're
tell
on
her,
to
I'm
the
gonna give her
budget.
your name.
Excuse me, Lynn?
I'm gonna give Corey's name to this woman.
Okay, we're on to the budget.
Okay.
Um,
So I put in, we went over it last week or last month when you weren't here.
Yep.
And I just put the numbers in there that we came up with. So we can take a peek at that again. As I said last time, anything in green, they do not have those numbers yet. I asked Danielle, we don't have the numbers from Brian yet, we don't have any of their numbers, so I couldn't put any of that in yet. But we can look and agree on our numbers tonight.
Does this budget here with the available line accurately represent where we are today? Available budget?
Pretty much, yes, up
That's
through
important.
through October,
Okay,
or
that's
through September. Okay, so the employee development, we haven't spent any of that. Corey said, I had mentioned that there was a required class, he said they haven't been able to get into it, but he would like to budget a little bit more for next year because it will be out of state and they will need a hotel for 2 nights.
Where, Corey?
Potentially. It changes. New Hampshire, the guy that taught it in New Hampshire retired,
Yeah.
and so now it's either like Massachusetts, Connecticut.
Okay. All right, well, are you required to take these classes?
Yes.
Are you behind right now?
No, I already took the class, but I have to retake it because I took it for it's in 1, 2, or 3. Our collection system turns out we are a 2, not a 1, so I need to retake it.
How about Keith? Does he need to be certified?
Keith needs to take it as well. Yeah.
And there's nothing offered in the state of New Hampshire?
There wasn't this year, no.
Well, I think we need to accommodate your certifications if you cannot get them done in the state. Commissioners?
Agreed.
Agreed. All right, so do we need to budget more money than the, oh, you're budgeting,
Yeah, we
you're
raised-
budgeting
We
15
doubled
now.
it, yes.
Okay,
Last
well,
year
that's
we
good.
were at 750 and we bumped it up to
Okay.
15.
Are we in the, go ahead, Lynn, just keep going. What's the legal services?
Okay, legal services,
We're in the
we
red
left
right now?
that, nope, we left that at, I don't know why there's a credit in this month so far, but we still have 3,500 left this year. So we budgeted 5,000.
Yeah, but aren't we paying legal services?
We
for
are,
the-
but it hasn't been,
Aren't we
a
paying
lot.
legal services for all these phone calls and stuff for the flooding of the basement down there when the sewer line backed up? I saw a list of phone calls that Danielle had made and the attorney's been making calls and doing documents. I think we're gonna get a sizable bill. from the
we've been
attorney.
paying bills for that. That's what's in that 1489.
Okay. And why is 928 in red?
Yeah, I meant to look at that before I came down. That somebody must have credited as something. I don't know if they charged us something they shouldn't have, but that's something finance must have
So I don't see
done.
any point in changing this. Anybody think we should change that?
No, we were leaving it at 5,000.
Not at this time.
That's a small amount for legal fees, my God.
Unfortunate.
What's going on with your office supplies? You're not spending any money?
I'm not spending anything.
Well, whose line is that?
This
that
is
yours?
all of
That's
us, it's for
ours.
all of us.
We're gonna spend some out of that line this month.
Okay.
So I left that at, we lowered that to 1,500 next year from 25.
You know, it's such a, our budget is like nickels and dimes compared to the rest of the town. I don't think we should lower it at all.
Okay, you just know.
You start lowering, they can flap all they want.
Okay, I'm just
I'll
letting
sit up
you-
there at the counter and I'll talk with them. But
Okay.
the point is that when they're gonna start nickel and diming on office supplies, then we got a bigger problem.
Okay,
So I think, no.
leave it at 25?
Postage, Lynn, you have to increase that to 5,000?
Yes, now,
You can justify
that's,
that because of,
well, we still have, we've already spent 4,500 this year, and I'm gonna spend another 1,700, so I'm going over 5,000 this year.
and why is that?
Because we did that, we did budget a little bit more for the extra mailing, because for the rate increase.
Right.
And then I didn't realize, on top of that, I saw there was another 1,400 charged when Stephanie sends out the certified letters for people that haven't paid the liens. There was, that sends certified, which is like $9 a letter, and there are like 200 something of those, so that was another $1,400, so.
What are those out for?
For people that if they didn't pay the prior year's bills, then we are going to put a lien on their property.
We have to notify
And we have to
them.
notify them.
Are we adding
certified.
all our costs for notifications to their bill?
Yes, yes, and then we get that money back, but
Good.
not on that line. So, but I'm leaving it 5,000.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if we are going to send out another letter, I'm gonna have to increase that by another 1,500.
What are we sending a letter for?
He didn't think we would need to if we increase the rate again next year. He thought the one
We
letter
have to
we
vote
sent.
to increase their rates every year, right, Dave? If we're gonna increase our sewer rates?
Yes.
It's an annual vote.
Right, so I would have, and he didn't think, Dave, last time we talked at the last meeting doing this, you didn't think another letter would be really needed because we told them that,
If we, in November, if we consider a 1 or 2% increase, is that significant enough to send all our customers a letter?
I think if you raise someone's rates, you have to notify them. Legally, you have to notify them. You can't just send them a bill. They have the right not to pay if you didn't notify them.
so and that was 1,600 this year to send that letter, and it will be more next year because the rate.
So what's
rate went up.
stopping us from putting the letter in the bill like we talked about in the past?
Well, number one, the bill doesn't go in an envelope anymore, and number two, you won't vote in time for the letter to get in the bill, because the bill goes out,
We need to adjust our scheduling.
because the bill goes out next.
What is the bill now, a fold-over thing and it's lick it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to insert something in that bill before it gets sent out? Okay.
You can
So-
put a note on the bill though, but limited.
Very limited, I mean, just not very much, and people aren't, I can tell you now, people aren't gonna read that.
Is there a need, there's a need in this year to send this notice out? But we're talking about next year's budget.
Yeah.
Right, the notice would go out in January like it did this year.
But if it went out in January, then the budget's not approved, but it doesn't really matter, we're just gonna do it anyway.
Because it'll be, I mean, we do everything January through March with
Everything is,
the next
yeah,
budget.
everything's in the.
Yeah, our budget, even though, yeah. So what my point is, if we are going to send out another letter, I have to increase that by at least another 1,500.
Well, it seems to me that the plan that the commissioners approved was to send out, to do an annual rate increase over a period of time, which means each one of those years is going to require a notification letter and postage and all that goes with it. So if you need to increase your postage budget to accommodate these notification letters until the year comes that we're not going to raise rates, then we can deduct postage from that year.
So 5,000 increases to what?
6,500.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, and the rest of the lines I don't have yet. Computers comes from Brian, and he hasn't done his budget yet, and all the rest comes from finance on that. up
okay,
top
let's go
there.
down to the clothing
So,
uniform.
clothing and
line.
uniforms.
Let's point over there and see what's going on.
So we still have 1,100 available this year. We had budgeted 2,000. We're leaving it at 2,000 for next year.
Okay,
Consulting services. We ended up last year at 47,000. We budgeted 75,000 this year. We're at 42 so far.
Corey, would you expect that we're gonna be designing a new sewer project next year, like we did this year?
And potentially, yeah, there's probably a 75% chance that
For
we'll
what
do
project?
side street off of Higgins. If we have,
But what did Mike design for us in this calendar year? Only Albert Street?
only Albert Street.
And our cost for that was 40, whatever thousand, plus any other consulting services we used him for?
Yeah.
And I don't know, this note I must have put in last time, but we have money built in for 2025 projects. We were leaving
What's
it
that
at,
mean?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking. Somebody said that at the last meeting, we kept it at 75,000, and you said because there's money built in for
I wasn't here, so I didn't
2025
say.
projects. Anybody recall what that is? Has something to do with CIP instead of CIP, I think you
Well,
were.
yeah, if we weren't gonna adjust anything for next year, we shouldn't, because say it does end up, Cross Street comes in, needs to be designed, and we are all on the same page, that 75,000 is gonna be, a good chunk of that is gonna be eaten up for the design work.
Okay. We were getting a good deal when we had Yurgo and Walton doing it,
Mhm.
Well, here it comes.
or whatever. We were getting a good deal back then. Okay, so the consensus to leave it alone?
Leave it at 75,000.
Okay. Belmore, we're gonna leave that alone?
Yeah.
Okay, diesel and gas, we're gonna leave that alone. Actually, it's gone down a little bit, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna go back up when Hezbollah gets blown up in Lebanon again. So let's leave our gas and diesel lines alone. Fleet maintenance, Corey? There's 7,000 unused.
We lowered it to 6,000 for next year.
Yeah, I think 6,000 is good.
You did a large amount of work.
Again,
Alright.
if you, this is just out there for emergencies or whatever, Danielle had asked me to remind you that we have no problem getting the money that we need. We can spend it and then ask
Yeah,
for
we
it
know-
back.
Yeah, we know that.
Okay.
Danielle wants us to lower our budget to make it look better. So
I'm just
fleet
the
maintenance,
messenger.
is that your oil changes and everything?
That's oil changes.
You've
any
only spent
repairs.
$123 on oil changes and such this year?
That must need to be updated.
That can't be
That
right.
can't-
That's everything I got for
Well,
bills
actually,
that,
we've only had 2 services. 2 services. He probably, I don't know, that starter was already on this shelf, so that might already been paid for.
Yeah, I think the starter was already paid for.
And they ordered a couple things for my truck to be on the shelf over there for,
How about winter tires or anything? They're all taken care of? You don't need tires?
we don't
You
need
got-
tires this year.
Well, then we can lower it to 6,000.
yeah, because that's everything that I've received for bills for.
What's equipment repair, Corey? Wait a minute. Equipment maintenance. Equipment maintenance. That's for the generators and your lawn mowers and all, is that classified as equipment?
Yeah, I think
You haven't spent any money on any equipment maintenance.
we should be getting a bill. Because the
Didn't I
generators,
just pay something in here
Yeah,
for
the
that
gen-
one?
Generator service?
yeah, all the generators get serviced in October.
Equipment repair. 53.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, you had me put that at 53440, equipment repairs.
5340 is equipment
Yeah,
maintenance.
yeah, that.
Which is
that down.
$10,000, which is unspent right now. Is that where you coded it?
No,
534?
no, equipment repairs for this one. That's what Corey told me, it was repair control panel. So that's down in the next section. So this equipment maintenance is more like, this isn't the pump station, this is more sewer
That's
operation.
like,
Like your
We need, these definitions, we need you guys to go through these definitions and write down what's going on, because when we go to the budget committee and start asking us, I don't like being tongue-tied. What is
These are things,
equipment?
I don't know this either. I mean,
That's like, equipment maintenance is when we have AAA pump come in and do
Do a lift
EMs, all of that stuff, the generators.
But that's not, this is, that equipment maintenance as related to the pump stations is in a different line, right?
right, that's equipment repairs, or with wet
See, this is why-
well maintenance.
If we don't know what we spend the money on, we look pretty stupid when we walk in front of the budget committee. This has to be figured out before I go in front of the budget committee.
Right, and I need to
So-
know from, this is like what Mike Yurgo used to, I don't know what
Don't,
this
so that
is.
doesn't matter, it's over
Start
and
all
done.
over.
Yeah, I need you to sit with me and then tell me what you want to charge there. 'cause-
Yeah, wet well maintenance is just pumping and cleaning the wet well.
So, I've got a
That's
sheet from last year when we were doing this, and under equipment maintenance, we had a note, repairs to trucks.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought, that's
Lawn
weird.
mowers, snow blowers, equipment.
And so in 2022, we spent $2,800, and then last year we spent $1,600.
This is where they come at me. when I
So the
go,
equipment maintenance, that wouldn't include the truck, like we said, though, because we have the fleet maintenance that we added, so
The truck is not equipment, the truck is truck.
that's what I'm saying. He said it was truck, but that, we had written that before, but we added the fleet maintenance line for the truck.
But we had fleet maintenance that year also.
So I would
Or
say,
did we?
I would say equipment maintenance is
Yeah, we
for
did.
like your lawnmower,
We just said that.
yeah.
I have all the bills for the last 10 years and with their codes on it. So I'll just go back through and look at this
Just
number.
assign, just forget all that. Assign what you think equipment maintenance is and make a list of what falls under equipment maintenance. And do a cheat sheet.
And that would help me too, if you could send that to me, then I would know exactly
Well,
what
he
to
codes the bills and
code.
sends them to you, just put in what he codes them for.
Well-
No, he doesn't code them, he's just, I get the
If I
bills and I
know,
code
she
them.
knows what she's doing. If there's ever a question, I'll just code it and give it to her.
Yeah.
Corey?
I'll
I'll
take
you
care of
code bills from now on.
All right.
That's what any department head or any supervisor does, they code their bills, they watch their lines, they know where they're spending their money, and they send it over. So code the bills and send them to her code.
I don't get all the bills, just so you know.
All right, well then
I'll
Lynn needs
call
to
you,
give them to you.
I'll call you. Yeah, some of the bills he brings me, the others just come in the mail, so.
Well, that is how a
Okay.
department head operates. Code your own bills.
we'll work
Unless you
together
want,
for it.
plausible deniability because it didn't go to.
No. Only certain things come to me and certain things go to her.
Well, at least discuss it with them.
Gives you time to figure out.
Please. CIP projects, we're at 676 for next year.
That's, I put on the side, it's 40,
225 budget is 676.
The amount of
CIP.
dollars on the notes don't add up.
no, I know, because I just noticed I must have fat fingered something. It's 90,000 for the new vehicle, and then the difference is for projects. So it's probably 6.
We'll get it fixed up for us. When are we going in front of the budget committee?
I don't know yet. They haven't given me any direction. We're the only ones really working on the budget right now.
All right, well then take that, if 676, 264 is the number, Lynn. Break out for projects and new vehicle and get the number plugged in there correctly, because I don't
Yeah.
even understand that.
No, I have that. Corey, I called Corey before the meeting, and I
You put a 4
listed
in
him.
front of 676.
I know.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be a dollar sign, I think.
All right, well, you can fix that.
Yeah, and I'll fix.
We're leaving, did the town get rid of the VACON, Corey?
Yeah, they sold it. It's
So
gone.
do we need to maintain the VACON expense line since there is no more VACON to expense?
No.
So I suggest we get rid of that
Just
one.
get rid of the line.
Equipment,
Manchester projects, Dave sent me a narrative on these projects, and I think it's a good thing. Dave, do we have numbers to plug into Manchester projects?
For 25 we do.
Okay, good.
I have a list of 12 or so projects that would be billed in 25.
Can you give us the numbers so we can write it in? Do you have that number already?
288, comma, 396.
Okay, so the new budget line for Manchester projects is 288,396, and the Manchester O&M charges are not in here yet. Have you been paying for capital projects out of the O&M numbers?
Yes, everything's been out of the O&M line, that's why we're breaking it up this year.
Well, do you have?
I had that number in there, but I thought Dave, I left it blank because I thought Dave was breaking them both up and doing them.
No, your number, you need to tell us what the number is for the O&M less the
Okay, Dave.
capital projects.
I thought it was-
So,
I've got it right here on last month's.
I just did the CIP projects, I didn't do.
I didn't know, I
monthly-
thought you were doing both, so I didn't bring
I
that
didn't do
part.
monthly treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to go back and do it. I didn't look at that because I thought he was bringing that. Sorry.
so the O&M charges, would that just be the 725 minus
No,
the
it's going to be,
288?
it's going to be, it's going to be whatever she finds out were projects that have been charged to that line, deducted from that.
Yeah, I could just add up all the O and Ms and see what we paid this year and then do try to estimate what the next 3 months are. And I'll use that as next year's budget.
Just take, you've got a working history of our O&M annually, right?
Every monthly bill, yeah.
Yeah, but you have like what was 23 and what was 22 and what was 21. If you take those numbers, you might be able to average them out, because we haven't paid an increase in our wastewater rates, have we? Have they increasing our wastewater rates?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, come up with something that you think is legitimate.
Yeah, no, I can do that. I can do that very easily. I'll just take out the projects that are in there. I get an O&M bill every.
Well, that's what I was saying. So we're budgeting 725 for everything, and now the projects is 288.
Well, that's for this coming year. Last year
Yeah,
we
so
might
that
have
was
paid
this
different.
year's, yeah.
Last year it might have been different.
So far this year, we've
So we
paid through
might-
September 400,000, but that included a couple projects, not a lot, but there are a few projects that are in that number right now.
Let's get
So,
'em
yeah, I
broken
can
out.
figure that. I can do that. That's good.
Contract services, Corey, that's for alarm boiler work, blah, blah. So you got them right in the column, that's where all they need to be. Put them over there in the little notes column, what everything does and what it, perfect. That's staying the same.
Yeah.
Available budget is $3, so we're at where we need to be for that number.
Well, but we still have 3 months to go.
Well, if it turns out that we get bills, we'll adjust the 27 budget, 26
Okay.
budget.
Okay. That's good.
This is why we need last year's numbers, closed out numbers. So we
I have
a
them.
basis.
They're in there.
Yeah,
First
so
column.
yeah, so 2023 we spent 4,600, but in 2022 we spent 15, almost 16,000.
We must have had some other contract services done.
No, that's the one that I was telling you about where 23 is wrong because they were sending the bills to the wrong place, so we didn't pay
yeah.
anything, and that's why we paid so much so far this
Or-
year. So next year, I would leave it at 10,000 because it will go back down.
Or go,
The bills were going to a pump station or something and then not getting to us somehow, so we didn't get them until just recently from all like last year. That's, the company changed hands and
All right, well,
it's a big.
that's old news, so let's move on.
But that's why
no,
you're seeing.
it'll go up, is
It-
what you mean, because we only spent 4,600.
Right, so it will
Last
go
year.
up from last year's, but our budget this year was 10,000 and we've already spent almost all that 10,000, but that's because some of that is
Is
from
the
the prior
backdate.
year, right?
Well, what bills do we have coming in that are unpaid? Alarm monitoring?
Yes,
How much is that a month?
I'll have to look. That's not something that I get. I don't know if I just got one.
Our boiler work and inspections are done, Corey?
Yeah, they just got done last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't got bill for them then, have we?
Not yet.
Do you know how much it is?
Not yet, I haven't gotten an invoice yet.
Well, heat pump work?
Yes, everything is good, nothing needs to be worked on, except,
So we have 3 more months of alarm monitoring, plus a boiler works inspection bill that we haven't received yet.
correct.
Well, you need to figure that out, and we need to raise the amount by those numbers at least for the final budget number.
The difference here is, there's a large amount of money that's not gonna be in this next year.
Right.
Because of bills from last year that didn't get paid. So this, it doesn't need to be increased.
Right,
Because
that's
if anything, it's
right.
gonna go down some.
All right, well, then we'll leave it alone. Okay, let's move down to operating supplies.
Okay, we left that the same.
Yep, we've spent most of it.
Last year, we spent so much because he was doing the pump station, their new office and everything. That's why it was so high
Okay.
last year.
Nevertheless, that's a very nebulous term, so you have to have clarity as to what the details are.
Yeah, what was coded to that line, if they want to know?
For operating supplies.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't,
Yeah,
furniture and all that stuff is not an operating supply, I don't think, is it?
for the last year's number, you want to know what was in there?
No.
No, I'm just, point for you to think about. Know what's under
Yeah.
that line.
Yeah.
We need to have answers when we go in front of the budget
Yeah.
committee, so get the answers into the notes so we can read them to them when they ask questions.
Yeah, especially when they're gonna see that we spent 26,000, but we're only budgeted
Budget
10,000.
10 this year.
And we have no explanation.
That must have been a number in the red then, if we spent 26. We probably budgeted 10 last year too.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, I can tell you what's in there, I have it
Or-
here. So some of that is the flagging tape, market tape, supplies for East Union, a lot of the Goffstown hardware stuff, bathroom supplies, ice melt.
Didn't come out to $26,000.
A big portion of that was Tripper container for $4,045.
What's that?
Shipping it to
Shipping container.
Oh, you charged that off as an operating supply? That should have come out some other line, I bet. Is that right?
And actually, last year our 2023, we had 5,000. We budgeted 5,000, we overspent it.
That's why we moved it to 10.
Right.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it alone. What's going on with the electricity bill, folks? It looks like we're raising it slightly.
Because rates are going up, so
Yeah.
I just put it up a little bit.
Propane,
I left that at what it was, yeah.
water staying, same. No, we increased the water bill from 1,000 to 1,200.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the actual so far.
Okay. Well, we didn't have a water line down to the Elm Street pump station ever. Now we do. Now we're getting charged for it.
Correct.
Telecommunications, why is it 0? for-
I'm waiting for Brian for that one.
Okay.
It's not zero, I just don't, Brian needs to give me that
Well,
budget.
maintenance is still 1,400.
We haven't spent anything still. We did no work in 2023, and Corey, you said St.
Because it was
Ange's
under
coming in
construction?
October. Are they
November.
November now? Okay.
So that'll get done in November at 1,400?
Yes, the 3 wet wells will get done.
That where they wash them out and
Yeah, we'll,
do the whole deal?
yep.
They pump them, wash them, and you
We pump
inspect-
them down, and then they'll get down in there and scrape the walls and suck all the.
And they're
grease
still the
and
same
stuff.
price? They haven't increased their price?
No.
St. Ange?
Did we do that for East Union as part of we rolled it
Contract,
into
yeah.
the contract? Yeah.
Okay. Chemical expense, we need to put the 750 over there for the 25 budget.
That's the chemicals for the wet well. Are we gonna be spending that when St. Ange comes too?
We put it in there anyway, it's a small
Okay.
amount. If they spend it, they spend it. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, we spend it every year.
Okay, diesel fuel, we went from 1,500, we brought it down to 500 because
that's
Corey
the-
says we don't need any.
That's the backup generator, and it only needs fuel when it runs.
Right, and Corey was gonna test the fuel in the tank.
Yeah, I reached out to MB Maintenance today. They're gonna come this week and test it.
Okay.
Well,
We'll
what
fill
are
it
they
if
gonna tell
we,
us?
well,
if
if
they
it's
test?
no good, then we can fill it now with this year's
Wait a minute.
budget.
What they tell us, the diesel fuel's no good?
Well, they're gonna just sample it to see if there's water.
Yeah,
any
they
bacteria.
test for water, and they treat for water
We're
if
gonna
there's
see
water
if
in
they
the
can
tank.
see how large the tank is as well.
Is there any point in running that generator just manually?
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
Good.
We run them all once a month.
Equipment repairs for repair of the pumps. Okay, those are the pumps that are in the wet wells. And we haven't had any problems, obviously, because you hadn't spent much money on them.
Yeah, and we dropped this number's lower too, because we dropped this at the last meeting.
Well,
No,
we
we
were
did
at
not.
46.5
Yeah.
for a revised budget of 24,
No.
and we're still at 46.5 for the 25 budget.
Yeah, we didn't drop that.
We already changed that from 100,000, didn't we?
Yeah.
Down?
Yes, we did.
Well, I'm not gonna agree to taking that out. All right,
So we haven't repaired any, or are we going to repair any, or?
you have any down there for rebuilding or anything? They're all done?
Until
Until they
one of them
break.
breaks.
Do we have rebuilt units ready to go?
We have, for the small Gorman Rupp pumps, we have 3 of the major drives that actually, the impellers. We have 3 rebuilt ones, so when they do wear out, AAA just comes down and can swap them out for us.
Have we ever bought new pumps for any reason?
No, not yet.
And new pumps are mega bucks?
Very expensive, especially for East Union.
They are what they are.
They're all, everything's rebuildable. It's the only issue we might have is if the casing on one of those pumps breaks.
How are our spare pumps? We have spare pumps?
Nope, we only have spare drives. We do not actually have like a spare
Pump
pump.
unit that can drop right in.
Correct.
How many wet wells do we have?
We have 4, yep. We have 4 wet wells and 6 small Gorman Rupp pumps, T3s.
All right, because I have down here, we have 9 at 15K each. to
Those are
repair
pumps total,
9.
not wet wells.
Those are pumps. We
Oh.
have 4 wet wells,
9 pumps.
9 pumps, because
Okay,
there's 6
that's right,
small
okay.
ones and 3 large ones.
Okay.
Where are the oldest pumps, Corey?
The oldest pumps would actually be in the Elm Street pump station.
And those are Gorman Rupps?
Yep, they're the same pump as all the other 3 smaller pump stations. They all use the same pumps for,
What would this commission think of us looking at having Corey price out a new pump for the wet well at
I
Elm
would,
Street?
I would look at Moose Club first.
All I'm saying is that next time a pump needs to be repaired, I think we should consider buying a new pump, having the repaired pump repaired, and have a spare pump for that pump station. And then do that each pump station as a repair needs done. We buy another new pump and put it in service, and pull the one out that needs to be repaired, and have it repaired and sitting and ready to go.
I agree with that, but I would have it for Moose Club first, because knock on wood, if we're gonna have a problem, that's where it's gonna be.
Well, could you please do a little research for AAA and find out what we're looking at for expenses? Because we might be able to use some of this year's budget to do that for one of these deals here. And just start getting ahead of the curve for when a pump does fail. I know everything is alternating pumps and you have time, but if you could just swap a pump, they come down and swap the pump out, and you're back in service, and then the one that needs to be repaired can be repaired at their shop and brought back for a spare.
Correct.
Get us some information on that, please.
So, equipment repairs also, it's not just pumps.
What is it?
It's the control panels as well.
Okay?
And like, we just had to have the East Union control panel. There was a piece in there that decided it wasn't, the piece that actually tells the pumps to turn off and on, and it goes through succession.
Yep.
And that
Failed.
failed. So AD Instruments came down and was able, we actually had a spare, and we were
Okay.
able to
Nice.
swap them out, and we're getting spares back to keep them in
Repaired.
there. But, so, on this should be control panel as well, because if one of those control panels, something happens to it, that's,
Nothing happens.
Yeah, hopefully nothing ever happens, but
No, I mean, you can't operate without a control panel.
you can't, exactly. And that is something that is stupidly expensive and just,
It's only stupidly expensive when you think about it. When it has to work and pump the sewage out of the wet well, it's not stupidly expensive anymore. It is a necessary evil.
it's, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not like you have redundant pumps in the wet well, but you're not a redundant control system, so.
So, I would like to see you consider reporting to us on getting ahead of the curve on some of these items and having some things available to the department on the shelf to be put in if something fails. All right, so Lynn, you have a few more numbers to plug in for us. I expect we're going to the budget committee soon. We're gonna get told like tomorrow afternoon we have to be there next week.
That, like I said, they don't even have any of their numbers for finance yet, so. I wanted to vote on this budget tonight, but we're clearly not ready to do that, so.
Well, let's do this. Why don't you get the numbers and, how many numbers are we missing, Dave? Just two? We're missing the number for the outstanding O&M charges, right?
O&M, yep.
What else are we missing?
That CIP project, I'm gonna correct that number,
That's easy to correct because that's just simple math,
right?
okay?
Telecommunications.
Brian's gonna give me all that, yeah, we don't have any of those numbers, but,
That's in the lower one, yeah. Well, that doesn't matter
No, these
because
are
those
all-
numbers are gonna be
Right.
whatever they're gonna
That's
be.
whatever.
Right.
We don't debate those numbers.
so it's really just the O&M one, I think, that,
I would say that we should vote on the budget tonight to approve it, and then we can Lincoln plug in the rest of the numbers and send them out to everybody.
okay,
And that way, everyone can agree that if we have to go to the budget committee next week because they call us and say, show up, we don't have to do a short meeting and vote on the budget.
okay. No, that sounds good to me.
Everybody, can you concur with that, Dan?
Yeah.
David?
So yes, motion to approve the budget as it was discussed and modified this evening, with the understanding that O&M charges from Manchester will be based on your review of all last year's
Mhm.
expenses.
And then we have to vote to remove that expense line.
And include in that motion removal of Becon expense line.
5351. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to accept the budget as we worked on it and to remove the VACON expense line. Any discussion on the motion?
Do we want to include something about accepting the numbers, finance
Provided by.
provides?
we
No,
don't.
we don't want to accept those yet, okay,
Those are cut and dried.
okay,
They are what they are.
okay,
The budget is going to include whatever the finance department gives us for the town center.
okay,
Don't do it.
okay.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passed.
Who made that
I
motion?
did one.
David, and who seconded it?
I did.
Okay, and now, another question I have for you is the November meeting.
Yeah.
We are being kicked out of this room because zoning has a meeting that night, so we need to meet a different night. What night, you guys, if I can, do you want to do it?
We have to pick a night and you have to find out about the room and then you have to
Yeah.
get back to us.
So I'm assuming Wednesday nights are good. Do you want to do it that Wednesday, November 12th?
Is that the day after our regularly scheduled?
I mean, Wednesday, November 13th, it's the day after our regular scheduled meeting.
Wednesdays are always good on my,
I can do a Wednesday.
You guys okay with Wednesday, November 13th?
Yeah.
That's okay with you, Dan?
Yeah.
So Wednesday, November 13th at 6 o'clock?
So our next meeting, I'm stating right now, are Wednesday. What is the date?
November 13th
November
at
13th.
6 o'clock.
That's our
And
next.
I will check, double check and make sure the room's available and let you know.
And then
but-
you will post that appropriately?
Yep,
When do we need to vote if we're going to do another sewer rate increase? This month or next month?
November would be best.
I mean, I probably won't send out the letter like I did this year. I sent it out at the end of
Yeah, but even if we
January.
vote on it in November, they're not gonna see that increase
Right.
until June.
So you can vote in December or January
Well,
even.
The sooner we do it, the better, because that
Okay.
gets the ball rolling.
Okay.
Could you bring that list that you brought and
I-
copied everybody on it?
It was a 10-year projection of
Right.
cash flow.
So you want that on the
I'll
November?
resurrect that and see if it's still
What did we
reasonable.
vote to increase the rates for this year for the bill?
Well, it was from 400 to 450.
All right. But that, was that a percentage
That
increase?
was like,
Or was that?
that was like, well, whatever that number is, 13 or 14%, yeah.
Okay, well, let's have a discussion based on your math,
Yep.
and we'll make a decision on whether we're gonna ask for another rate increase or not.
I'll bring a handout.
Thank you.
I'll put it on the agenda for next month then.
And as usual, you send it to us on our email before the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You got anything else, Daniel?
Nope.
Anybody got anything else? We've been here a long time tonight, longer than usual. All right. Nothing else, Lynn?
Nope.
Lori? Keith? Okay, motion?
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second it. All those in favor, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank
GTV, we're
you.
done.